Welcome to Life on Purpose, where we talk all things health, wellness, and living your life on your terms. I'm your host, Brandy Eilert. I'm a holistic health and wellness coach and creator of Brandy Eilert Wellness, where I help women with adrenal fatigue and chronic stress live a more holistic, purpose-filled life. You can find my content and services at wellness360coach.com/Brandy-Eilert. You can also find me at Brandy Eilert Holistic Wellness Coach on Facebook or Brandy Eilert Wellness Coach on Instagram. Now get ready to learn how to really live life on purpose. Have you ever met somebody and thought to yourself, wow, they are so confident, so self-assured, brave even. I wonder if they were born that way, or I wish I was more like that. I am an observer of human behavior. I always have been. People watching is one of my most favorite things to do. Does that make me an expert? Absolutely not. But it does allow me to be curious about people's stories and to be empathetic to certain behaviors. I love to see how people interact or not interact, their demeanors and body language that lay themselves out there like little clues to what lies underneath. Confidence is one of those traits about people that fascinates me the most. Are some people born confident? Did they practice being confident and then start believing in themselves enough to make that a trait? So many questions. Today's guest, Tiffany Morrow, dives into those questions as we talk about authenticity, confidence, self-love, self-talk, and so much more. Tiffany is a licensed therapist and certified coach at She's Alive to Thrive. She helps women overcome the deep-rooted feeling that they're not good enough so that they can be brave and go after what they want in life. She's on a mission of joining women who want to be strong, own their power, and change their lives. So without further ado, let's dive right into this conversation with Tiffany Morrow. All right, Tiffany, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day today to come on and talk about you and your business and all of your expertise. So I want to start, I want you to just kind of introduce yourself to my audience and tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Brandy. I love that you allowed me to come on here and to speak with your audience. So I really appreciate it. So I am Tiffany. I am a certified coach and I'm also a licensed therapist. So I am really passionate about helping women overcome that feeling that they're just not good enough. And because of this feeling that they're not good enough, they're not really going after the things that they want in life, whether that's something as simple as speaking up for themselves or really showing themselves authentically to the world, or in other ways of not going after the careers that they want or really playing it small in life. So that's really, really what I'm passionate about. And so I love that I get to speak about this today with you. And let's see a little bit more about me. Personally, I just really enjoy the outdoors. I love walking. I love water. Like I'm obsessed with it. Like anything water, if I'm walking near water, if I'm like showering, anything, I just love water. And
so because you're from Chicago, so you're around a big body of water.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny though, because I don't spend a lot of time near the lake.
Really?
Much as I think. Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I have a little pond in the back of my complex, and I just love walking out there. Like it's like the best part of my day, just to walk out there near the pond, and then it's just so, especially in the summertime, it's just sunny and it's just so peaceful. So yeah.
Well, that's great. So you work primarily with women, and you got into this area of coaching, working with like confidence and purpose and self-love and all of that because you have personal experiences with it. Can you speak a little bit about like your personal experience with those things and why you're so passionate about helping other women work through them?
Yeah, definitely. So years ago, I was living this very low level life and it looked really good on the outside. So I did all the things, checked all the boxes. I went to school, I had got a house, and I was going on like a path where it looked really good on the outside. But on the inside, I wasn't really taking care of myself. I didn't appreciate who I was as a person. And I was in this space where I was just content on being safe and comfortable. I wasn't really taking risks. So, like I said, whether that was me not speaking up for myself or me feeling like I had to show up differently in my relationships, I didn't really honor the fact that I was an introvert. I felt like I had to be different. So I just really I didn't know who I was. And I was just going through the flow. So just going and just taking what life gave me, which led me to being in unhealthy relationships, like romantic relationships, friendships. And because of that, I dealt with years of depression and not really trusting myself and trusting what I wanted or who I was. And eventually I was like, okay, enough is enough. I'm tired of this fear and like this sadness just running my life. I really wanted to show up in a more authentic and a more purposeful way, in a way that was going to make me happy. So I said, enough is enough. Okay, let's figure this out. So I went on this journey where I was doing everything that I could. So I was taking workshops and doing webinars. I was getting coached and I went to retreats. I did therapy where I really had to figure out who I was as a person and what I wanted, what I valued, how I wanted to live my life. So it wasn't until I started to find solutions and it wasn't until I started looking for solutions, and that was when I had my breaking point where I really started to change the different things in my life. So that led to me ending like all these different relationships and romantic relationships, changing jobs. And that in that process, I found confidence because I really started to value who I was as a person, realized I was perfect the way I was. I didn't have to change or be someone different. And then I learned to start taking risks and doing things even though they weren't comfortable. So because of doing that, that's when I really started to learn learn how powerful I really was. And it just led me on a journey of really intentionally living my life. And yeah, it's led me to where I am today. So I just want that for other women. So
yeah, what I find is really interesting is that oftentimes when we get on this path, like you said, you were on this kind of path of inauthenticity. You weren't really being who you were meant to be. And it felt very uncomfortable. So trying to fit into this box led to kind of this unhappiness, discontentment, all of that. How do you think that society plays a role in dictating to us how we are supposed to be living? And what kind of pressure does that put on us to be somebody that we are not?
Oh my God. So it's like one of the most important things because we have all this messaging. So the big thing that was clouding everything was you shouldn't be an introvert. You should be like the social person. You should love parties and you should just want to be out there. You should have this huge group of friends. And because society really values extroversion, that's what we see on TV. That's what, a lot of people
Social
are
media.
extrovert. Yeah, all of that. So it's like
Yeah.
me being different from that. It was like, okay, I'm weird. Something's wrong. And then I would try to be that way. And then I'm like, I don't like this. I'm not happy. So
It feels really uncomfortable. Yeah, trying to be
yeah,
something you're not.
yeah. And it's just like, so then I had friends who were extroverts. And then, I always wanted to stay in there, like, come on and come out. And like, and then there was just this idea that there was something wrong with me and that, I should be a different way. And then even with confidence and even with with body image and everything, there was always this idea that I should be perfect. I should have the perfect body. I should look perfect. I should like everything should be perfect. I should be this perfect person. And if I wasn't perfect, then it was like, it's just, well, then it's not worth it. Or what are you doing? So yeah, I
It
really
almost
had to
feels like a
unlearn that.
failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. It
know
was like,
I can relate to that a lot. I don't remember a time in my life, even from a very, very, very young age, of feeling this imperative need for perfection. And I don't know where it comes from. To this day, I still don't know. I mean, I have ideas, but like this need for perfection, and it weighs on you because there's no nobody is perfect. There's no ideal. There's no way to fit into this perfect little box, because what I've learned for myself is that I was trying to create um, the perfect me that I wanted society to see. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is what society expects me to be. Therefore, I am going to try to attain that. And I learned along the way that it was exhausting me,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not who I really was. And what I found is interesting, and I wanted to ask you this as well, is when you start to transform and start to become that person that you are comfortable with, it's really hard for other people and society to accept sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So your family starts to be like, okay, well, who are you? Or your friends, like, oh my gosh, this is not the Tiffany I know, or this is not the
Mm-hmm.
Brandy I know. What was your experience with that when you really started to kind of come out of your shell and just be comfortable and start to be okay with being who you were?
Yeah, it's hardest with the people who've known you the longest, and
Mm-hmm.
I still struggle with this because they view you in this way. Like, they know this is the person that they know. So when you deviate from that, they're like, "What? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand." Like, you will all this. So some people, you will always be who you
Who
who
they've
they see.
created in their mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like that's just who they're gonna see you as, and I just had to be okay with that. And then
Yeah.
for some people, like I had a very, very close friend, and I started to say no, like, no, this isn't okay. Like, I feel like I'm being used. I feel like this, and I feel like that, and then they were, upset. So it's like they're like, okay, well, what is happening here? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like a crazy thing. Like, okay, this is not the Tiffany I know. This is not who I believe you are. And it's very hard for other people to comprehend, especially if they've known you longer. Like, if there's someone new in my life that I haven't met, I don't have those same things because I'm a
Yeah.
blank slate to them. But yeah, it's still something I struggle with. It's still something that I recognize. It's like, as I'm changing, that especially my family, they're like, no.
Yeah. Well, I always find that it's very interesting because it takes a little bit of a weight off to be able to set those boundaries and to say no, and to kind of eliminate those things out of your life that aren't working for you. But you also still have those habits and those self-sabotaging thoughts in the back of your mind of, oh, well, they don't like me,
Mm-hmm.
or they're not accepting me, because we all want to be accepted. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's what creates this unhealthy need for perfection sometimes, is that we want everybody to like us, we want everybody to accept us. But again, it's kind of that idea of, we're not all the same, because if we were, that would be really freaking boring.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
um so how do you think that we can, like, tune all that out and turn it on its nose and confidently give society the middle finger and say, you know what, this is who I am, and not who you want me to be, and that's okay. I mean, what
Yeah.
are some tools that you work with your clients on really being okay and confident in who they are, and helping them also figure out who they are? Because I think we all tell ourselves these stories, and they're not
Hmm.
always true.
Yeah. So I first want to say that it is not easy. It's not always going to be easy. And like, you will be in situations where you're so uncomfortable. You're like you're having that fear. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And that is so normal. Like, especially when you're growing and when you're doing something new, it's like so, so normal. So I would first want to say, if that is happening and you're having that fear, give yourself some grace. It is completely natural and completely normal. So
Yeah.
the thing that has helped me is to really get down to who I wanted to be as a person. That was where I started at. And I really had to know what I value. That is the biggest thing. What do I value? And those values are going to be the things that drive everything that I do in my life,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm really being true to the things that I value, and not something that someone told me I should value, something that is internally, um, it's something that I created, something that I want to express, and that's important to me. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you
So
have
those are
to
like non-negotiables. Like, these are
yes,
my non-negotiables. non-negotiable values. I will not go against these values.
Yes. So like, for example, one of my highest values is peace. Like me having my internal peace, me having a peaceful presence, and like mentally, all that is like my highest thing. So I always bring it back to peace. Is this bringing me peace? Is how much mental chatter or mental angst am I going through by not saying something? Because when I don't say something, then I'm the one that's hurting, and I'm the one that's like, oh, wait a minute, should I say this? Should I say that? Or they're going to be upset, and it's impacting me. So if it's not bringing me peace, okay, let me say something. Let me address this, and it doesn't have to be in this like aggressive way. It's very in like bringing it back to peace in a peaceful way. Like, this isn't okay with me. Like, I
Right.
don't.
Because internally, that's who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as really stepping out and showing yourself authentically, it's really, like I said, one, getting to the values, and then two, really understanding where that fear is coming from. Because when you start to disarm the fear, that's when it gets easier. So what I tell people to do is, what is the worst that could happen? Like, really think it through. Like, don't just like, oh, they'll be mad. Like, okay, so if they're mad, then what's going to be the effect of that? And then what's going to be the effect of that? And just keep going until you really get down to, okay, this is the worst thing that I can imagine will happen. Okay, now if this were to happen, if this worst case scenario were to happen, create a plan. Okay, this is what I'll do. This is what I won't do. Work through that fear beforehand and figure out, okay, create a plan, because I think that fear is what stops us. That fear of not wanting to be accepted, like you said, and
Yeah.
having the other person angry, or all these different stories that are going on in our head. So when we start to really understand what that is and create a plan, and a plan that feels manageable for us, then it kind of just it disarms it in a way.
What are some examples of some of these challenges that your clients come to you for? Are they relationship? Are they like, what are some of these fears built around?
It all, and it's so, it sounds very vague, but it all comes back to this idea that they're not good enough, that
Mm-hmm.
they won't be accepted, that they won't be loved, that they're not worthy or deserving in some way. And it's really getting to the root of that, like where that comes from, and challenging that in those beliefs. So yeah, because I think we of course we all want to be accepted. We all want to feel like we belong. So it makes 100% sense that
Right.
we have these feelings. Yeah.
I always find it really interesting because I feel like, oh, envious of people where they're seemingly born confident, or people who have this innate ability to just not really care what people think about them. And I always wonder to myself, like, were you born this way, or how did you get here? Because I really need to know your secrets, because that seems like it is so freeing. But I mean, I guess my biggest question, and it's kind of an open-ended question here, or a rhetorical question, is is this something that is put on women especially? Is this
Oh,
something like, shut up, be quiet, don't speak your mind, don't, go with the flow, be amenable, be flexible? Why is it such a bigger problem for women than it is for men? Not saying that it's not a problem for men. I know plenty of men who have confidence issues, but women, I think it's much harder for them to be bold and to speak up and to show confidence, because we're not supposed to.
yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, oh yeah. So
I don't know,
this,
that's a really like
no, because
deep
this is
question there, but it's just something that you have to wonder about.
yeah, no, this is like, I got so excited like when you were talking. I'm like, because this is where, like, this is part of the root. This is where this a lot of this comes from, is because I didn't grow up. I especially did not grow up I was taught to be a good girl. I was taught to be polite and to be kind and to base my worth on those things. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not kind, if you're not sweet, if people don't like you, if you're being unagreeable, or um, if other people don't, if you're not making other people happy and it's not a positive experience for the other person, then there's something wrong, because you're supposed to be a good girl. You're supposed to be polite. And I don't think that this was anything that, like, I think that, of course, my parents meant well. And I don't even believe that it was something that was directly told to me, but I think it's a societal thing. I think that us as women are taught to just be good and to just behave and not to be rough and all of that. So we tie our worth to that. And we say that if we deviate from that, then we're not worthy. So I had to really rearrange, like, it's so much that goes into this. I had to rearrange and challenge all of that. Like, I had to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, no, my worth is based on me living my values and me really showing up in a way that is true to me. And people will not always like me, people will not always agree with me, and that's okay. It doesn't make me less of a person or less worthy because I'm not always nice, because that's not possible. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's such a fine line too, because obviously you want to show people respect, but you also want to demand respect in return. And I think that's where people get very confused and very kind of held up a little bit. Well, if I'm rude, or if I speak up, or if I come across as rude for setting this boundary, then it makes me, a rude person or a bad person or whatever. It's
Yeah.
it's about reframing that idea of no, I'm not being rude. I'm setting a boundary. And again, you still want to be respectful,
Mm-hmm.
but setting this boundary for yourself, for your own mental health, because one of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite um ideals is that we teach people how to treat us. If
Mm-hmm.
we allow people to continuously beat us up, push our boundaries, um, disrespect us, then they're going to think that it's okay, and they're going to continue to do it. And so all you're really doing is setting a boundary and teaching people how to treat you, that are, within your, respectful boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, this was something I really struggled with in the past. It was like, okay, so, like, am I being I never wanted to come across as being like mean or malicious or like rude. So I would always doubt myself, like, okay, wait a minute, am I? So
Yeah.
I brought it to this like simple thing. It's like, are you being intentionally malicious or hurtful? Like, because again, kindness is a value of mine as well, but that it goes both ways: kindness for the other person and kindness for myself as well. So am I being intentionally hurtful or malicious? If the answer was no, then okay, you're fine. Set the boundary, say what you say, and say it in a way that's true to you. You don't have to be this other person. You don't have to be this, this
Yeah.
new person and say things in ways that you wouldn't say them. Just be yourself and just really express what is and isn't okay. Because if like you said, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow and what you don't allow. And it can be really hard, especially when you've been in certain relationships and you're changing things up. But it takes time. You have to continually, it's a process. You just have to continually teach people.
Right. And I feel like it takes practice.
Yeah.
What are some steps, like if you had a client that came to you and needed to set these boundaries for themselves, but again had this fear built around, well, if I say this, then I'm being rude, or what, I mean, how do you get them to push themselves out of that, to really start feeling comfortable with expressing themselves and like setting those boundaries?
Yeah. So I really like to look at what is the impact on you. So, because I think that a lot of times when we're in those spaces, we're thinking about the other person, if they're going to be upset and all these other things. But what is this costing you? What has, if you were not to set this boundary, if you were to not to say this, what is going to be the impact on you, and to take it just I like to take everything step by step, because we're not going to go from like 1 to 10 in a day. Start with someone safe. So start something small, whether that's like someone at at a restaurant. I know some people don't like to send food back. So if that's a situation where you're uncomfortable and normally you wouldn't send food back if it's like incorrect or something's not
Oh
right.
my God, that's so me. I was that person.
Yeah. So start small, like something super small, and then just build. So like send the food back, say, excuse me, I didn't order this. Thank you so much. And this isn't what I ordered. So, and then just build from there and just keep going, because, just taking those small steps, and then you build, and you grow. And then that's when you realize, once you do something that you're afraid of, especially no matter how scary it is, once you do something that you're afraid of and then you actually do it, you're like, wow, like, one, that did not turn out the way I thought it was going to go most of the time. And then two, it's like, oh my God, I can do something else.
Right. And it's so funny too, because just saying that, just saying like how scary it is to tell a waiter that they got your order wrong and to send it back now sounds like, what? Why
I know,
would
right?
you be scared to do that? But for somebody who has been so fearful of being able to speak up for themselves, that tiny step can feel huge at first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It can.
That's
So,
amazing. So I want to ask you, you mentioned that you're also a licensed therapist.
mhm.
Can you speak a little bit about what the difference is between doing like behavioral or cognitive behavioral therapy as opposed to coaching, and how do you mesh the two together?
So right now I keep them separate, just so
Mm-hmm.
I don't confuse clients. I have my coaching practice and I have my counseling practice. So the big thing that's indistinguishable between the two is that with therapy, there usually is some mental health issue involved. And it could be something very minor, something very common like anxiety or depression, or it could be something larger. And usually therapy is for someone who is having some issues functioning in their daily life. If there's any like abuse, trauma, or anything very major, or suicide attempts, all of that is
Mm-hmm.
100% therapy. Like,
Yeah.
coaching is not the platform for it. Now with coaching, usually it's more action based, more performance based, more this person isn't really having issues functioning in their daily lives, but they're just wanting to learn new skills or do something very specific. There is a lot of overlap between the two, and I noticed that when I was doing my certification, because cognitive behavioral therapy is weaved in a lot with coaching and the way that I do coaching. And so there's a lot of overlap between the two. So, but I would definitely say, yeah, mental illness, severe trauma, suicide, definitely, that's always therapy.
It's
Yeah.
really interesting because both of them, I realized, are you're trying to get to the root of the problem. But
Mm-hmm.
typically, like how I like to explain it too, is that therapy is for looking back. How,
Mm-hmm.
let's look back to see where this issue could have possibly originated, and let's really kind of dive into that. With coaching, you're moving forward. You're saying,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is the challenge that I have. What steps can I take to move forward? Um, so it's kind of a looking back as opposed to moving forward
Yep.
situation, like for me, like how I try to explain it to people. But it's very much both trying to get to the bottom of the issue.
Yeah,
Where did this
definitely.
start?
Yep.
Because you do core energy coaching. What can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So I got my certification with IPAC, the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. I have to always say that because I have to remember. It's so long.
Yeah.
So, and I love their program. So it's all about core energy. So not only getting to the root of the issue, but their philosophy is on what they call levels of energy. So And basically it's just the filter. And that's is kind of very close to cognitive behavioral therapy in my
Yeah.
opinion. So it's the filter that you bring to a situation. So like level one is a victim filter. So like I have no power, I have no choice, like I have to do this. Two is anger. So that's like I'm gonna get back at you. You everyone knows what anger
Right.
is. Three is responsibility. So like, it's not the best situation, but I'm gonna make it work for me. Like kind of like borderline settling.
Right.
Um, Four is having concern for another person, helping, service. And then five, I love five. So five is like, this is the win-win. This is where we're going to figure out what works best for both of us. It's all about collaborating. And six and seven are um they're one to five is like where we mostly live, and six and seven is those are like higher levels, like where you're in the flow and creativity are. So yeah, it's all about the different filters basically that you bring it to a situation and how we can reframe those different filters and the different interpretations, the assumptions, the feelings that we're not good enough, the reframing all of that so that you show up more high energy. So bringing more like peace and joy to the situation rather than like anger and resentment and
Right,
sadness and
because
all that.
those are very, if you're talking about like energy levels and your frequency, those are really low level places to be
Mm-hmm.
all the time. I mean, I can't imagine anybody functioning well and being happy when you're constantly living in anger or fear or frustration or
Mm-hmm.
any of those things.
Yeah.
I imagine that it's hard to have room for anything else.
Yeah. And then they cloud our judgment so much, especially when we're in it and when we're really in it. It cloud our judgment so much. But the thing is that we all go through the different levels of energy. We all have times where we're feeling angry, or we all have times where we're feeling sad. We also have times where we're in this space of peace and collaboration. So it's like it's not a fixed thing. So there's this tool that we use. It's called the Energy Leadership Assessment. It's an attitudinal assessment that I like to do, where someone can see how they're normally showing up in life. And so that can be like a starting place of, okay, so if you're normally showing up with anger, okay, is that something you want to work on? How can we move it from anger to a place of um, concern for the other person, or making this, or three, of having more responsibility for yourself? But yeah, I really enjoy all of this.
It's kind
Really
of like,
cool.
yeah, meeting them where they are. So it's nice to
Yeah.
have that baseline of this is where you are, let's see where we can get you.
Yeah, and then there's no judgment about any of it, because it's like they're just they're just ways we show up. So there's no like, oh, if you're one, like, oh, I'm showing up in this way. It's just information. So we just use it as information. There's no judgment of, oh, you're always in that, you're not always, but
Right.
most of the time in this level, you're most of the time in that level. There's no judgment. It's just information so you can make a more informed choice.
Right. And I feel like, that's why sometimes people will refrain from doing therapy or hiring a coach or whatnot, because there is again, you're living in that fear of judgment. Well, if I really open up and tell them how I really feel, then this person who doesn't even know me
Yeah.
um, can judge me. But really, you and I know, as coaches, our job only is to take the information that you give us and to help you move forward.
Yeah.
um and we all have a story, which I find really interesting, and that's why each of my guests, I like to know where they, like, what their story is, where they come from, because it informs the audience on why they're doing what they're doing now. And
Hmm.
that's the same for your clients too. What's your story? Where do you come from? What has happened in your life, to you, for you, etc., to create this story that either you've created around yourself or society has created
Hmm.
around you. And that also is information,
Yeah.
because sometimes we can see things that you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
and help you to also see them. Because
Yeah.
nobody, and I like to mention on, a lot of my shows too, it comes down to, no, we don't really like to look at those dark parts. We don't like to look at those scary parts. We don't like to kind of uncover the things that we've maybe been hiding behind or trying to not focus on. But typically when you bring those to surface and you can address them, it's easier to move past them.
Yeah.
So again, it's digging to the bottom, digging to find the root of the challenge and helping you face it, and then helping you move forward. And then typically it's like this freeing kind of, I can breathe, I can,
Exactly.
you know, you're not walking around with this weight on your shoulders all the time of, like you said, living a low level life that you didn't know how to get out of.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of us don't know that, like, they're so unconscious sometimes. We don't know that we're carrying all this stuff, or that we believe these things. It's not until you're aware of those, until that's when you can address them and make a choice. Like, what do I want to do with this? Like, do I
Yeah.
want to do something about this? Do I not? So because sometimes we just go and we're not really aware. And I think that's what was going on when I was younger. It was just like, I felt so stuck. I was like, and I didn't know. Like, I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I know something's wrong, but I don't really know what it is, and I didn't really know how to figure that out on my own. So I was like, well, okay, I'm gonna read all these blog posts. I'm gonna do these retreats. I'm gonna get coached. I'm gonna do therapy, and we're gonna figure it out, because I'm like, I can't live my life like this anymore. So
Right. And I find a lot of the times that, you'll have somebody come to you and say, I don't know what I want. I know I'm not happy. I know I'm not fulfilled. I know that this isn't my purpose. I know that I want something else, but I don't know what that is. Can you help me?
yeah.
And those are the most fulfilling for me. Those are the clients that you love to go on the journey with them,
Mm-hmm.
because all you're really doing is helping them like just push away all the riffraff and really get to the bottom of, who am I, what do I want, and how do I
Mm-hmm.
get it.
Yep. Yep.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it is. And
That's
that's
it.
like,
And I think a lot of us, we have a hard time. It's the term self-love,
mm-hmm.
it gets a bad rap because you're like, oh, that's selfish. Who spends that
Mm-hmm.
much time thinking about what they want and, you know, spending time pampering themselves or whatever? There's like this idea that self-love is just constantly pampering yourself. And really, self-love to me is just getting to know, like you said earlier, who you are and what you want. It's just asking
Yeah.
yourself questions. And because I feel like we can show up better for the people that we love the most if we're
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with ourselves.
Yeah.
Because really, a lot of times when we lash out, it has nothing to do with the other person. Typically, it's your own inability to deal with this frustration or anger or whatever it is. Um, but that's kind of a passionate topic for you, based on like some of your blog posts and things like that, is self-love and self-care. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah. So, oh yeah, I love self-love and all that. So, and it's this idea of, to me at least, it is that idea of accepting yourself and recognizing you don't have to be 100% perfect all the time, or it's just to flip that you are already perfect the way you are, and accepting your strengths and your weaknesses. So, like, for example, I am an overthinker. I know that. And I would be like, you shouldn't be this overthinker. You shouldn't be in your mind all the time, and you shouldn't do this. And I'm like, okay, now I'm at this point where I'm like, I am kind and I'm caring, and I'm also an overthinker, and that is okay. Like, I accept my strengths, and I also accept the things that make me not 100% perfect, because they are ultimately who make me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that no one should have my back more than I have my own back.
Right.
So that, and it doesn't have to be like a constant like pampering of myself and all of that, but it's just acknowledging, just being kind to myself, just being kind, acknowledging who you are, your strengths and weaknesses, and then also taking that time out for yourself. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be a 24/7 thing. Just once a week, taking a bubble bath, taking a walk, doing something that matters to you during the days, giving yourself some grace and just being kind to yourself, speaking nice to yourself, taking care of your body in whatever way works for you. Like not having to live up to this expectation of perfection, because that's when you really know who you are, and when you can acknowledge both sides, the good and bad, that's when you have peace. It's like, okay, I don't have to, be trying to be perfect all the time. And that's not saying you don't try to grow and build or whatever, but it's saying that, okay, these things make me who I am, and I can choose to work on them. I can choose to still grow and to still build on them. But if I don't, I'm fine either way. Yeah.
So it's just as much accepting your flaws as it is celebrating, your, I don't want to say perfections, but your attributes that,
Yeah.
you're okay with. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard for people.
Yeah, it is a
Well,
hard thing
nobody likes
because
to accept they have flaws.
yeah, because I don't know, it was just like, I don't know, one day I was just like, okay, these are parts of me. I can't deny these other parts of who I am. They are who I am. I overthink sometimes. Sometimes I'm lazy. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I feel like working out. Sometimes I don't. I have bad days at times. Sometimes, and when I'm having bad days, I could be irritable. Like, okay, that doesn't give me permission to like mistreat people or whatever. But it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, having this awareness of I'm not always perfect. And then because I think when we give that to ourselves, we can give that to someone else, where we have that compassion for them to say, yeah, okay, this person is trying. They're not 100%, and they have good and bad. And but both of them make them who they are. I can't take one without taking the other. So, yeah.
Right. You know what I find interesting too is that, we typically try to hide these quote unquote flaws from
Mm-hmm.
people because we know how we feel about this particular flaw, and we tend to create this story in our minds of how other people will accept that flaw too. And
Mm-hmm.
typically it's not reality, because we can't read other people's minds. We have no idea how other people will accept these flaws, and is it any of my business how you accept this flaw? you
Yeah.
know so we're beating ourselves up and then hiding these parts of ourselves and not sharing who we really are, the good, bad, the ugly, with everybody else, and actually giving them a chance to accept or not accept that, which again, if they do or they don't, isn't our business at all.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, because I just brought up a quote that I saw recently. It said, I'm not who I think I am. Like it was like something like this. And I might say it wrong. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think that you think that I am.
Yeah,
It was like,
exactly.
yeah, it's like, they may not even feel, and it wasn't like, that's not who you are, but it was along those lines of, it's
Yeah.
like, I don't, yeah, it was like,
We
it's who I
create this
that you think
story.
that, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, we create a story about ourselves based on what we think other people think about us,
Yeah.
which again is a huge waste of time and a huge waste of energy, because who gives a damn? Who gives a
Yeah.
damn, really? Like, do I really care that much about what this person that I'm not even comfortable enough showing these flaws to thinks about me?
Yeah.
You
And
know?
yeah. And the big thing is that because I struggled with this a lot in the past, the big thing was that I felt like everyone had to like me and everyone had to mesh
Yeah.
with me. Or it's like, oh, I'm not nice. People don't like me and all this. But I think the thing that really helped me was that my personality is not for everyone, and other people's personalities are not all for me. I don't mesh well with everyone I meet. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that, it just means that our personalities don't mesh. So it's like, okay,
Exactly.
you show up as you. This is what you show up as you and be the person that you are. Don't try to be someone you're not, because then they're going to like the person that you're pretending to be. So be the person that you are, and know that if your personality, it's just your personalities don't mesh, or your preferences don't mesh. So and that's fine. We're not going to mesh with everyone. And
it's funny too, because once you do start allowing yourself to be authentically you, is when you tend to invite the people that you do mesh the most with into your life. Because it can be very lonely living an inauthentic life, because you're not inviting the people that you mesh the most with into your circles, because they don't know that that's who you really are, because you're not really showing that. So when
yeah,
you start showing up authentically is when you kind of put that energy out there and start inviting all these other people into your life who get you,
yeah, and that's when you're
which is a
fulfilled. Like,
beautiful
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because at first you were ignoring what you needed. Like,
Hmm.
I know that I'm a person who really needs her space and her time to herself. But if I was always like trying to be this person that was always out and always busy, I wouldn't be meeting my own needs. I would
Right.
just be, and I would be angry. I would probably even become resentful and like, you know, so yeah.
And you start to, yeah, then you start to show up in different ways, which can be particularly negative to the people around you too.
Yeah.
um well, great. I imagine that, this story of you and like your process of getting to this point makes you a really good coach, as far as being able to really relate to the women that are coming to you for these exact same problems.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very different experience. So it's like everyone doesn't go through this. So to have that experience and to
Right.
know exactly what that feels like, it is beyond.
And it has to be rewarding. And I haven't met a coach yet who hasn't become a coach because they needed to be the person that they needed when they were going through this.
Yeah. And it's just like I've learned so much and I just want to share it with someone else because I understand what it feels like to be in that space
Yeah.
and to be struggling and to not know where to go or what to do and to even feel like, okay, like, can I even have what I want? To have that sense of like a little bit of hopelessness. I understand that. So it's like,
Yeah.
I just want to help people to know that there is light on the other side and that you can have what you want. I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for how much power we really have. So yeah, just to give that to someone else or to help in any way that I can is that's all I want to do. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I do appreciate you sharing your story and your business and all of your beautiful insight. If somebody wants to find you and get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Yeah. So my website is for coaching is she's alive to thrive.com. If you wanted to email me, have any questions, you can email me at hi at she's alive to thrive.com. And I also have a short little quiz if you're wanting to know what's stopping you from really speaking up or showing up, doing something that you want in life. And you can find that at she's alive to thrive.com/quiz. So that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much again for sharing your story and being on the podcast today. I look forward to talking to you again. I think we get to talk again on Monday, right?
Yes, you will be on my podcast on Monday, and
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. And I
Oh,
enjoyed this, Brandy. Thank you so
all
much.
right. Thanks so much, Tiffany.
Thank you.